In 11.6, we cover some stuff that you are probably familiar with. What we are covering is the different ways to analyze data, and there are multiple ways to analyze data. What we're going to start with are the measures of central tendency. These indicate where the middle of a data set is. So anytime you are talking about measures of central tendency, you're talking about the middle of the data set. So there are three main ones that we use. The first one is mean. To get the mean, you get the sum of all the data values, and you divide that by the number of data values. Number of data values, not hashtag. Now, mean you've been doing for quite a while, so we're going to beef it up a little bit. When we do mean, instead of writing mean, we're going to write x with a bar over it. So x bar, that stands for mean. And then instead of writing sum of all data values, big kid math, we write this. Now I know some of you are going, what in the world is that, Mrs. Black? Well, let me explain it to you. This thing that looks like an E or maybe a backwards 3, that is sigma. And sigma means add up all of. So this means add up all of. X stands for a data value. So this is just the math way of saying add up all of the data. So just the same as we wrote here in words, that's the math way to write it. And N is your sample size, which is, in this case, the number of data values. So what I wrote in dark blue here in words, that's the same thing right here in light blue in math. So that's mean. You might also remember that we will have median. Median is to get median, remember you have to take your data values and put them in order from, hopefully you remember it goes from least to greatest. And then the middle number and then sometimes you don't have one middle number or the mean of the two middle numbers. That is where you get your median. So if you find yourself counting in and you're like, oh, I've got two, then you have, find the mean of them, and that's your median. And then mode is our last measure of central tendency. Mode is the data value that occurs most frequently. Okay, so mean, there's just going to be one. Median, there's just going to be one. Now on mode, there can be more than one. There can also be none. So there can be no mode, one mode, or more than one. So for mode, you have more options. Okay, so those are your measures of central tendency. Now there are also measures of spread. So how spread out is your data? The main measure of spread we are going to use for today is range. To get the range, you do the maximum, so the biggest number, minus the minimum. And another, this is not really a measure of spread, but I'm going to put it down here. Another thing that we're going to talk about is an outlier. An outlier is a data value that is way out there. It is more than, is it more than 2 or more than 3 standard deviations away from the mean? You will find that out in another lesson. So today you just need to know that an outlier is a data value that is far away from all the other data values. So let's look at this example. Find the mean, median, mode, and range of the following data set. So it looks like we have 5 games and number of points for each game. So we're going to find the mean of that. So to find the mean of that, we add them all up. 24 plus 17 plus 15 plus 30 plus 24, and divide by how many there are. There are 5 games. So if I add all of these up, I get 110 divided by 5, which is 22. So my mean is 22. Find the median. Well, the median needs to be the middle number, so I need to put them in order. So my smallest one is 15. Then I have 17, 24, another 24, and 30. So as I kind of cross off and come in, the middle number is 24, so that's my median. The mode is the one that occurs most often. So I like to use this list that I have, and it looks like 24 happens more than once, so the mode would be 24. So mean, median, mode, and range. So last thing is range. So from over here my list, the biggest number is 30, smallest number is 15, so the range is 15. Okay. Find the mean, median, mode, and range of the following data set. This is a little bit more tricky because this is something that is called a frequency table. So instead of it listing all the numbers as many times as they are listed, it just tells me with this frequency table how many times it's listed. So I have a 2.3, and then, so when I'm finding mean, I have a 2.3 one time, but then I have a 2.4 4 times. So I need to either write down 2.4 4 times, or I can just multiply it by 4. I've got 1 2.5, 1 2.6, 1 2.8, and if you look under 2.9, it says its frequency is 2. So that means I've got 2 2.9. So I can either write 2.9 plus 2.9 or 2.9 times 2. So then how many numbers do I have? I have 1 2.3, 4 2.4s, 1 2.5, 1 2.6, 1 2.8, and 2 2.9s. So that gives me 10. So when I add all of these up, I get 25.6 divided by 10. So the mean is 2.56. Okay. Mean, next median. Okay. So the median needs to be the middle number. Well, I know from my frequency that I have 10 numbers. And that came from this frequency line. 1, 4, 1, 1, 1, 2 gives me 10. So to find the median, I'm going to have 5 numbers below and 5 numbers above. That would be the middle of 10, correct? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 5 numbers. So let's see if there's 5 numbers above. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. So there's the median right there. So is the median 2.4 or 2.5? Well, it's neither. It's between them. So to find the median, I'm going to have to do 2.4 plus 2.5 and divide that by 2. So I get 2.45 for my median. The mode on this one is actually pretty easy to find. You just need to find the one with the largest frequency. So which one has the biggest frequency? 2.4 does. And then the range, we do the largest number, 2.9, minus the smallest number, 2.3, and our range is 0.6. Okay, next page. So what we're going to do next is learn about box and whisker plots. And I think you may have seen these before also. So a box and whisker plot, first you will have a number line. Like such. And you will need to take your data and put it in order and find the median. Okay, that gives us something called Q2. And that will be in the middle here of my box. And that's the median. Then that splits your data, if you find the middle of it, that splits it into two halves, right? You have the lower half, which you will use to find Q1. Q1 is quartile 1, and it is the median of the lower half of the data. So somewhere over here, let's pretend, sorry about the bell, we found Q1. And then we will also have an upper half of the data. So Q3, or quartile 3, is the median of the upper half of our data. So somewhere over here we'll have Q3. Then Q1, Q2, and Q3 all get made into your box. Then your box is going to have whiskers that go out to the minimum and the maximum numbers in your data plot, in your data. Then the last thing that you will do is find the interquartile range. The interquartile range is also sometimes called the IQR. I will probably never write it interquartile range again. It'll just be IQR. To find the IQR, you do Q3 minus Q1. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about this, this box and whisker plot and how it's set up. If you think about this like money, this is all of our data, right? Then each one of these chunks represents 25% of our data. So there's 25% here, 25% here, 25% here, and 25% there. So your box represents, there's 50% in the box. So you'll have 25% of your data here, 25 here, 25 here, and 25 there. If you have one section that's maybe longer than another section, that just means that the data values are more spread out, and maybe these ones are closer together. let's write of the data. Okay. So each chunk of your box and whisker plot represents 25% of your data. So you can tell how spread out it is by how far apart your box, how wide your box gets, and then how far apart your whiskers are from there. Okay, so on this thing, make a box and whisker plot. So I am going to start out by writing these numbers in order, because that's what it says to do first. Put the data in order. So it looks like my smallest number, I've got 12, 15, 16. I'm going to cross these off as I use them so I don't double up. Got another 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, and 24. Did I use all my? Yes. Okay. So now what I want to do first is find Q2, which is the median. Oh my goodness. So, sorry again for the bell. Start counting in. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it looks like my median is right in here. But it's not 17 or 18, it's between them, so I have to find the mean of them. So 17 plus 18 divided by 2 is 17.5. So that's going to be my median, or Q2. So when I draw my line, I'm going to need to put my median at Q2. So that separates my data into the lower half, which are these numbers, and the upper half, which are these numbers. So now I need to find the median of each of those. So here, looks like right here, 16 is my Q1, and then over here, if I find the middle, 20 is my Q3. I also need to know that I've got a minimum at 12 and a maximum at 24. So when I draw my number line, I'm going to have to go from 12 to 24. Okay, so 12, 14. Alright, so when I start putting stuff on here, first is going to be the median at 17.5. So here's 17.5, and that's going to get a line drawn there. Sorry. Q1 is at 16. There's Q1 at 16. And I want to label these with their numbers. Q1 is at 16. Q2 is at 17.5. And Q3 is at 20. Q3 is 20. And then out here at 12, I have the minimum. And at 24, I have the maximum. Okay, so let's draw all that in. So there's my box. And there's my whiskers. Then we can find our IQR, inner quartile range, by taking our Q3 minus our Q1, and since they're right on here, I can just look at that, find out my inner quartile range is 40. Now if I asked you how much of your data is between the number 16 and the number 20, well, that would be in the box, so that would be 50% of our data is between 16 and 20. How much of your data is between 20 and 24? 25% of your data is between 20 and 24 because that's one whisker. So you've got 25%, 25%, 25%, and 25%. So notice, see how this is the smallest chunk right here? And if you look, it's got 16, 16, and 17 in it. So aren't those numbers all pretty close together? As opposed to like this one goes from 12 to 16, which has a further spread. They're 4 apart, where 16 and 17 are only 1 apart, so that's why this whisker is longer than this chunk of box. Okay, I would really like it if you would pause and try to do each step of this next one on your own. So see what the first step is, pause and try to do that. So the first step is to put our data in order. So it looks like we start with a 26, then we've got a 27, 28, another 28, 30, 31, 32, and 36. Okay, now once that's in order, again pause and try to do the next step by yourself. The next step would be to find the median. The median is right here between these two. So again, we're going to have to find the average. 28 plus 30 is 29. So our median is 29. Then we've separated our data into the lower half and the upper half. So the median of the lower half is going to be Q1. That's between here. So 20, again, finding the average. So 27.5 is my Q1. And then the upper half, middle is in here. $31.5 is my Q3. Then my minimum is here at 26, and the maximum is at 36. So when I make my number line, I'm going to have to go from 26 to 36. Spread this one out a little bit more so we can see it. Okay, let's start in the middle. Our middle is at 29. That is our median. So we'll label that 29. And my Q1 is 27.5, so halfway between 27 and 28. Then my Q3 is 31.5, so halfway between 31 and 32. Not labeling these very well. Okay, and then my minimum is at 26, and my maximum is over here at 36. Okay, now pause and see if you can draw in what needs to be drawn in. Okay, Q1 through Q3 get made into a box, and then the whiskers go out to the min and the max. Then last, let's figure out what our IQR is. So maximum minus minimum. What am I doing? That would be the regular range. The IQR would be Q3, so 31.5, minus Q1, 27.5, which is 4. So again, our IQR is 4. Please don't think that that's a pattern and the IQR is always going to be 4. Good luck on your assignment. Let us know if you have any questions.